Good morning, everyone. Good morning, huddlers. Welcome back to Thursday Spiritual Matters. I am your host, Dr. Monikah Ogando, with a little tickle in my throat, little throat chakra situation happening after I got back from Egypt. And I have a quote for our session today. This is a hat tip to Giovanni, because we had a conversation about suffering before. Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. There is no birth of consciousness without pain, by Carl Jung. Yes. I don't predict these. These little coughs are gonna come and go. I don't control them. So bear with me. Welcome back to Thursday Spiritual Matters with yours truly, Dr. Monikah Ogando. Today, we are going to talk about the stages of spiritual awakening, and hopefully you'll be able to identify yourself in one or maybe more than one of these spiritual awakening stages. But before we do that, we have a full house today, and I just want to know, I want to check in with my peeps, because I've been gone and I've been sending you pre-recorded stuff. And hopefully if you follow me on social media, you've been seeing some of my pictures and stories and so forth. We had a grand old time in Egypt. I'll catch you up sometime. But before we do that, Stan, how are you and where are you?
I am excited, Doc, and because I am as I say I am, and where I am is right here, the only place I can be.
Tara, with your beautiful red lady in red. I would sing it, but I don't want to hurt your feelings. What are you grateful for, and who are you gonna hug today?
Oh, good morning. Good morning. I am feeling very grateful today for Delta Sky Miles.
We love Delta Sky Miles.
I'm going to take a flight tomorrow and it will cost me $11. So
yay!
And I will be hugging my husband.
Awesome. I would be hugging my husband too, but I have cooties, so we have to do the whole thing from afar. So I thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I so appreciate all of you. I love seeing your names, your faces. And I thought that the best way to start today to talk about the stages of spiritual awakening is to hearken back to another earlier episode that we did some time ago when we talked about the hero's journey. Do you remember that? Remember the hero's journey? And one of the reasons why I love using archetypes, such as the hero's journey, is because they're universal. And I can apply them in different places, regardless of culture or civilization or time or generation, etc. They're universal in that way. And I'm going to go through some of these stages of spiritual awakening, and I want you to tell me where you think you are. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 of them. And they're kind of parallel to the hero's journey. And then I want you to tell me in the chat or in the comments below where you think you are. So one of the most useful metaphors for describing the stages of spiritual awakening is that of vision. And I took this model from Deepak Chopra. In that model, 5 different qualities of sight represent unique steps in the spiritual journey. The first one is glimpsing, like just a glimpse of something. It's like a call to an adventure. When you're in the glimpsing stage of spiritual awakening, it's kind of like you kind of think, suspect, wish, hope that there is a different way, that there's more there, but you're not quite familiar with it. And it's just a suspicion. It's just a It's just a wish, maybe. So that's the glimpsing stage. That's the first one. The second one is closer inspection, closer examination. It's like choosing a path. So once you have had that call to adventure, then you start exploring. You start exploring, you start researching, you start asking questions. You ask friends and family and mentors and coaches what they think or what their experiences have been, or has this ever happened to you, et cetera, et cetera. So you're kind of like exploring and giving it further examination. That's the second stage. The third stage is seeking. Like once you have chosen a path, or once you have come across something that really resonates with you, then you follow that path and you start getting deeper in it. And it may not necessarily be that you label yourself a particular denomination or a particular religion necessarily, but that you find yourself being fascinated by some of the things that you're learning, and you want to do further research. You go to retreats, you go to conferences, you read books, you ask questions, you get into coaching sessions with people, you attend services, et cetera, et cetera. Hold on one second. You didn't want that in the recording. And then the fourth one is what I would call like the dark night of the soul. It's kind of like the loss of sight. When you lose that path, when your faith has been shaken, when there's things that's like, I thought this was making sense. I thought this was supposed to be the way I was supposed to go. And now this is some bull. Maybe your faith has been shaken because something that seems unfair, unjust. How could there be a God and be this? How could there be fairness or justice and be this? I know, for example, for my sister, there was a loss of faith when her husband got diagnosed with ALS, and the 6-year path of ushering him into his next transition. Always hopeful, always present to maybe there's a cure, maybe this is a nightmare that we're gonna wake up from. And it ended up in him passing away, and so that begat a crisis of faith. Like, how could there be a God and such a good man die for no reason like this? And then the fifth one is actual seeing, merging with the path, where you begin to connect the dots, where you can break through to a new stage, maybe visionary, maybe transcendent, maybe sight beyond sight. And at that level, you've gone beyond intellectualizing things, and you've become the practice. In other words, no longer striving to see, but you exist in seeing and in peace. There is a sense of like coming back home to yourself. But the process isn't one of accumulation or of gaining more knowledge or experience. It's more like a process of letting go, really, if you think about it, or continual decrease. And it's marked by patience, it's marked by grace, it's marked by curiosity. I have heard people say, I don't know that I don't know, right? And in that clearing, in that space of I don't know what I don't know, is where faith becomes relevant. Faith has been defined as the evidence of things not seen. And when you get old enough and you've seen enough tragedies, injustices, but also miracles and beauties and just things that take your breath away, they're so beautiful, from people, from nature, from just the way that the universe is organized. Sometimes people have a hard time ascribing that to divine intelligence because it doesn't make use of their senses. And so they're like, well, that's just coincidence, or that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Or they have this anonymous thing called karma, but they can't really quite explain it. But when you're in the stage of seeing, of merging with the path, it's almost like you go the opposite direction. Like sometimes we begin the spiritual awakening like nothing is godly, nothing is divine, nothing is, you can't ascribe nothing to God or anything like, and then on that other side, on that fifth stage, like everything is God. the sunrise, the sunset, the fact that we're talking right now, everything is part of divine intelligence, and we see everything through that prism. What I think sets it apart, though, for the general population is that when you're in the place of seeing like that, when you're in that spiritual awakening phase of merging with the path, you're not interested in convincing anyone to follow your path. It's your path. And you respect that other people have their paths, and you're curious about them, and you're interested in them, etc., because it deepens your own knowledge of yourself and of them, and connection in that relationship, etc. But you're not really interested in evangelizing or convincing, etc. You know what you know, and you're open to knowing more, but not from a place of debate and not from a place of convincing. So I want to open up the dialogue to see what comes up for you when I talk about this. Giovanni says, my path is no better than yours, kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Like that.
A quick question.
Yeah.
If you could review the 5 stages in one sentence or two, so I could write them down, because as you were explaining it, then my brain kind of lost its way.
Oh yeah. So I've like a summary, if you will.
Yes.
So the first one is glimpsing, a call to adventure, kind of like looking and seeing. The second one is closer examination. So you're actually exploring and you're doing research and you're asking questions. The third one is seeking, and that's following a particular path. You go to the retreats and you go to the conferences and you get coaching and you attend services and so forth. So you're following that path. The fourth one is the dark night of the soul, or the loss of sight. And that's when you begin to question things. Some things may not make sense, etc. It kind of shakes your face to the core. And then the fifth one is seeing, merging with the path. And being at peace with the path that you have chosen, and being at peace with the path other people have chosen. In other words, you're not interested in convincing anyone. Does that do it for you?
Yeah. So the first one is you're sort of open to it, right? And the second one, you are asking questions. And the third one is, I'm going to the conferences now. I'm talking to Monikah now. The fourth one is dark night, which is I no longer believe anything I have asked questions for. I hate this path. This is all nonsense. You know, the fifth one is, wait a minute, this was cool. And guess what? It's not better than yours. Kind of thing?
Kind of thing. You got it.
Oh, okay, love it. I can start talking if you let me.
Of course, go for it.
Okay. I love this. I don't know in which path I am. In some degree, I find myself in all of them. And interestingly, and that's what it was kind of present for me. There's a certain aspect that I find myself in, you know, my path is not better than yours. This is what there is for me to share at this point. And then there's another aspect of myself, which is, no, F this, F all of it. I'm just going on a sabbatical. I'm going to a beach and I'm going to be a bartender, and you see me there. If you want to drink, come see me, right? There's an aspect of my life where I find myself there. Mm-hmm. And so I find myself here with you and with all of you, attending the daily huddle and looking for something. And I'm asking questions. So I don't know if there's a sixth eye to all of this, but I find myself in that kind of realm. Monikah, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all part of seeking, and that's all part of that closer examination part of asking questions. And there may be some things that don't make sense to you, and there may be some things that some assumptions that have not yet been confronted. I remember the conversation that you and I had some time ago where I said, it sounds like you have it, like suffering is a glitch in the matrix, like it's not supposed to happen.
It is. Damn glitch in the matrix.
And what if suffering is just part of it? What if suffering comes with it? What if contrast and suffering and pain comes with your experience of yourself in humanity, because from that place of suffering and from that place of contrast, we sometimes tend to make more compassionate and more graceful and more patient decisions for ourselves and for others.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so suffering has its purpose too. As painful as it is to be in it, and as painful as it is to watch someone else be in it, it has its purpose too. It's just that we don't like it. We protest. We want to see the manager. What the hell is this? You know?
I love that. I want to see the manager. I love that. Well, Monikah, you know, I can keep asking questions, but if any of you have any comment or question, go ahead and raise your hand, or go ahead, Tara.
Yeah.
So I think this is a divine moment for me, as always is with you. I flipping adore you. This morning, about an hour ago, I try to take the mornings to work on my book, which is a memoir. And it is like uncanny that you were talking about. You said the words in the final one, seeing that it's like coming home to yourself. And there's a part in my book where, and it's in terrible time of suffering and trauma. And I just wrote about this morning, that I was looking in the mirror at my face. And I said to myself, this is the face that used to lead with a smile. And I know that smile is still in there. I've always promised myself that no one would take away my fighting spirit, and that I will have that smile again. And you reminded me of what a divine experience that was. So I don't really have a question.
That's so sweet. I love that, Tara.
I mean, I didn't really see it as God so much, but I should. And I thank you for that.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. I think sometimes we forget, you know, like computers, and I don't mean to analogize human experience to mechanical things, but in a computer, in a phone, etc., there's like this reset button that takes it back to factory settings, right? And I think that is actually synonymous to what happens to us in the dark night of the soul. That in the dark night of the soul, we go back to factory settings. Like, who am I without my knowingness? Who am I without my prejudices? Who am I without these experiences, without these assumptions? Like, start from scratch, factory settings, start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, like the poem If says. And it's in that clearing that sometimes it feels naked and it feels raw, but it feels very promising too. And that's where you can find that smile. That's awesome. Rashida, you had your hand up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rashida Wright, and I live in the Poconos Mountain. And I'm telling you, this is my 5th day with the Daily Huddle. And I'm so excited to hear you, Monikah, because every step, every point you make this morning is what I live, and I am testimony have it for 30, I would say it's for 30 days. I would say from the 1st of July to the 1st of August, my boyfriend went in coma. And trust me, guys, every single point that you make this morning, I went through it every single day. And it's something that, for me, the universe was testing me to see how much faith I have. I leave sometime at night, I leave the hospital and I come home and I feel that emptiness. And I say, where can I hold on, who I can cling on? And the only thing I could cling on is to my spirit, to that universe mind and that universe consciousness and that universe awareness that I was living with. And trust me, yesterday he's out of the hospital now. He went into 2 months of therapy. He's back home. And it's such a joy to tell you, our guy, that he's back home for the transition that we went through. And yesterday he says to me, he said, baby, thank you so much for believing in me. Thank you so much for knowing that I was not going anywhere. You was the only one, did not give up on me. And I say, I did not give up on you because God did not give up on you. That universe setting where you live and where we live, where we all live, if we just find that given point at that beginning, it will always be somewhere where you can go back over and over again to be connected with the universe. So thank you so much for making the point, Monikah. I really appreciate being here in this space, sharing this space with you all guys. Thank you so much.
Gorgeous. And we send him all the healing angels and energy so that he can have a speedy recovery. That's awesome. Stan, you have something?
Well, it's a question, Doc.
Yeah.
In your studies and in the maybe the contrasting views, or maybe not contrasting views, but different interpretations of the same view. Have you found out why beings ourselves, who are actually the source embodied in us, and actually a personification of the source in us, we actually are an extension of the source and the source in our being, why we had to go through a phase where we had to relearn who we are? Why did that ever have to come about? Where was the fall? What was it?
Okay.
Like, where is the manager?
Yeah, right, exactly, right, exactly. I'm going to give you my personal opinion on this.
Okay.
I don't know it like a cosmic T, capital T truth. I know it like my truth. Okay. And that is that if my human personality is any indication of my divine makeup, you can't tell me nothing unless I experience it myself. You can tell me, oh, you're perfect and whole and complete. Like, let me see. Right? And I will test it. And I will put myself in situations where either the opposite will be true or the thing you're telling me will be true, but I have to see it, I have to experience it for myself. And so that when you are everything, when you are absolute, you're going to have to create a playground, a sandbox, where something that's not you exists. In order for you to see that contrast, in order for you to know who you are, you have to know who you are not. But who you are not doesn't exist. I just knocked Giovanni off his chair.
Yeah.
And Rashida. And me.
And me.
I'm so glad this is recorded. I have to hear that shit again like 100 times so I can get it. What the fuck? I love it.
I know. She just spits gold.
So in order for you to find out who you are, you have to be in front of or experience who you are not. But who you are not doesn't exist. So you have to make it up. You have to make up hunger and poverty and et cetera. And you have to create an environment where those kinds of things would exist. And the only way that those things would exist, because we know how horrible they are, is if you forget who you are. Because if you know who you are, you would not be interested in creating hunger and poverty and injustice and violence. And you wouldn't be interested in any of that. You'd be like, for what? I already know I'm perfect, whole, and complete. Why would I do that? That sounds stupid. So you'd have to forget who you are in order for you to be like, okay, let me try this out. And then in the trial and error of humanity, then you're like, oh shit, I don't want violence. Oh, I don't want hatred. Oh, I don't want this. This is not working for me. And it happens at the individual level, and it happens at the collective consciousness level. More and more of us are waking up on the individual level where we can create critical mass and change it collectively.
Can I say one more thing?
Of course.
I once read where the being that we are, the source that we actually are in this incarnation that we are here, this all supreme source could never know itself in its infinity without becoming things. And so it has become an infinite number of things in order to know itself. And so we find that in ourselves. And I think of what I'm getting from you, is that we have these experiences because we have to find our own truth when we already are the truth. But we've gotta test and find that own truth for ourselves to be able to truly identify it, because as infinity, it's hard for us to really know exactly what we are.
That's right. And that's the only purpose of contrast, really, is for you to know yourself and to choose yourself. That's the whole point of the story of the prodigal son in the Bible, that he had to leave the royal palace and go sleep with the pigs in order to be like, wait a minute, I'm choosing this guy. I'm choosing this craziness. Let me go back home to my daddy's house where I had clean clothes and a good bed. And it's the same thing with us. That's the story of our humanity, that we go to the quote, like you said, the fall, right? And go all the way to the bottom to be like, okay, no, this is not. But then you're choosing every step of the way of your ascension. And now your identity isn't something that was given to you. It is something that you recognize in yourself. It's a re-knowing, it's a re-seeing.
Deep on Geo.
This is beautiful. Layla has her hand up, Monica.
Okay,
Wow.
Layla, let's do it.
Lela?
Yes, thank you, Stan. Yes, Lela, Della, Stella. Della and Stella, my sisters. Okay. When I want to speak on 5, then 4, emerging with the path. Something happened to me a few minutes ago on the motivation readers. Mastermind Dara says something about mentoring youth, young women. And it just hit me to the core, because I realized I had lost of sight. That's number 4. I have been asked multiple times in my community to mentor young women. And I'm too busy doing mission work, too busy in my business. I'm too busy being a Christian and doing the things that I need to do. I don't have time to do that yet. I'll do that later. But it all emerged this morning in that setting. So when you got down to number 4, loss of sight, and when you got down to number 5 and you said faith, emerging with the path, it all came together for me. I'm so busy doing all these other things that I feel I need to do as a Christian that I've not done what I've been asked to do and mentor and work with young women. With that, I'm complete. Thank you so much.
Wow. That's awesome. I mean, it's an awesome understanding of yourself. And a lot of times this is how we get convicted in the spirit, is by noticing these kinds of things. It's great. Anybody else? Questions, comments? More mind-blowing conversations with Giovanni?
Monica, it's funny that you make these points, and I know that number 1 was just glimpsing, number 2 was, but it's you, the numbers, the 1, 2, 3, and 5, 4 and 5, you make it so smoothly. But mind you, for many of us, when we going through this path, sometimes it takes us up to 10 years to just blink.
Yeah, it's true.
It takes us lifetime to get to number 3.
Yeah, that's true.
You go to seminars,
sometimes multiple lifetimes,
and you spend money.
Yeah.
Here, this one saying do this, and the other one saying do that. And you say, where I am. So where you set yourself up in your mental capacity and your growth in your spirituality is up to us. It's up to each individual that is on this call and each individual that we confront. And why I'm saying this is because, mind you, before my boyfriend got sick, as a holistic healer, I said, baby, you're doing this wrong, and you're doing this wrong. Who I am to teach you how to choose what you want to do with your own body.
Yeah, that's right.
But mind you, the situation is that the spirituality growth that each one of us have to do is a part that we have to take. I'm going to take, some of us was going to take us a lifetime, some of us going to take us 3 days, 4 days, depending on the conscious awareness. But this point that you make, it can take us a lifetime to achieve. Thank you so much.
There's some of you know that I teach and or not teach, but like facilitate a study on A Course in Miracles. I've been a student of A Course in Miracles now for well over a decade. And there's a quote in that book that speaks to me very much that says, this is a required curriculum. This meaning life, meaning your own maturity, etc. Only the time you take is voluntary. So we're all getting home. We're all going to the place where we know ourselves when there are many scriptures that say, I and my Father are one, but the most popular one is the Christian Bible. But there's always this level of union. In fact, the word atonement means at one-ment, right? At one with the divine. And eventually your humanity does get to the point where it is aligned with your divinity, and that your divinity does not in any way cancel out your humanity, and your humanity does not cancel out your divinity. But when you know yourself as divine, then you can be patient with your humanity. And when you know yourself as human, you can be purposeful about living into your divinity. Yeah. Well, that's all I have for you today, my friends. Thank you for being patient through my little throat stuff. I'm gonna journal that out and see what that's about.
It was sexy, man. It was sexy.
The husky
Feel
voice.
better, and it's quite funny that you say that's all you have for us. That's all I can take. All I can take in, sister. Beautiful.
That's awesome. In the meantime, we want you to presence and embody the 7 principles as espoused by Patty Dabrowski. Love generously, laugh, you know, like be obnoxious with your laughter, like kiki, you know what I mean? Like go all out. Give of your time, of your energy, of your attention. Sleep at least 7 hours. Eat more plant-based, like Giovanni says, eat a tree. Move your tail feather, shake your booty. It was funny, in one of the crypts in Egypt, in the Dendera temple, there's an actual picture of twerking. I had to actually point it out to people. It's like, this was not supposed to be, you know, like this obscene thing. It's supposed to be raising the Kundalini energy. Y'all have been told wrong, but that's another sermon for another Sunday. And then, of course, I always add my little one over there, my number 8, which is check yourself before you wreck yourself. Always check your assumptions. When you can check your assumptions and you can question your assumptions, then you can see whether you're standing on solid footing in terms of your convictions. I love you guys. See you next week.
Peace to all of you. Blessings.
Thank you all.
Hello, guys. One love.
Love.